Is there any hope of resolving the mistrust between elves and dwarves now?
Will Celebrimbor help Sauron get back the nine?
And did we get shortchanged on the Double D?
Double D?
Yeah, Damrod drama. All this and more for this discussion of The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power on Amazon television series, season 2, episode 7, here on Bustin' Blockbusters podcast. Hey, everybody, Matt here. Doomed to Die is the title of the 7th episode. It was written by J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay and Justin Doble, and directed by Charlotte Brandstrom. So all names that we're familiar with for this season. Doble just wrote on the last one as well, I guess because his storylines are carrying over. But because there was a big battle, you got to get the showrunners in so that they can say, oh, let's surprise them by not having us army charge down a hill during a sunrise scene, as every other Lord of the Rings movie does. But this time around, we have, of course, Priscilla at Priscilla TV1 on YouTube. Please check out her channels, subscribe, and all of that. And Priscilla, I'm just going to get right into it. Let's rate this episode. Season 2, episode 7. What was your rating on a scale of 1 to 10?
9.3 double C's.
Double C?
Oh yeah, double C. That means crazy Celebrimbor, actually. Not that Celebrimbor was actually crazy. We know that he wasn't. But to be fair, Sauron, he convinced everybody there in Eregion that Celebrimbor was, so he was declared invalid or unfit to rule by the judge there and locked inside a tower. And things got rough there. But in my opinion, if you ignore all the fast travel, if you ignore the fact that actually weeks have been passing through between one scene to the next, without much mention that they actually were passing, if you ignore all this strange time thing and the travel and all sorts of other things that we can speak later on, if you ignore that, the episode was reached in moments. So you had Sauron and Celebrimbor talking about Sauron being tortured by Morgoth, which is an interpretation of what actually was written by Tolkien, that I actually agree in part. And you have Galadriel and Celebrimbor saying goodbye. You have Elrond realizing Durin will probably not show up. So it was filled with these moments that I really love it. So 9.3 it is.
9.3 it is. And because I can only rate things higher than a 7, I guess that's why my rating's a little higher. I'm telling you, this is one of the best episodes of television, and I don't pay any attention to the travel stuff and the lore busting stuff. I know it's probably a little creepy that Elrond's kissing his soon, sometime in the future mother-in-law or something like that, right? But
we can talk about it.
yeah, we can talk about it. But I personally, none of that bothered me. The only thing that I took the 0.2 down was
same here.
The only thing I took a 0.2 down from a 9.8 out of 10 triple D's.
Triple D's?
Yeah, derelict Durin duties. Was the fact that Arondir's storyline was, just done for shock value. There's no way that he's dead, because he still has to return to Pelegir at some point and still be stepdaddy to Theo, who is the most important character in the whole series. So you cannot have Theo lose both his mother and his father in the same season, or his substitute daddy in the same season. Just can't have that. So no way that Arondir is dead, folks. Now, how he's gonna, I guess, because of where the sword went through, There's a chance that it missed. I don't know I don't know elf anatomy, so I don't know how many different organs are in there as opposed to a human. But you know, it's quite possible to survive that as long as no vital organs were damaged. We'll just have to see if Adar remembers that or not when he decided where to stab Arondir at. That's not the point. That was the only thing that took the 2 points off for me. I loved this episode otherwise. There was excellent action. There were great effects. The surprises were good, and that includes the kiss. There was drama. There was sadness. There was heroism. I'm thinking of Selena Lowe's female elf character that did the whole Boromir thing, basically, and continued to fight even after she had 17 arrows in her. You know, it's just double E.
Double E?
Yeah, excellent everything as far as I was concerned. And one of the things that made it most compelling, I mean, it was pretty obvious that Durin wasn't going to show up at the end, so that wasn't really a surprise. But the thing that the showrunners did with this particular episode that I really liked, I compare to the penultimate of Game of Thrones of season 2, the Blackwater episode. Because for me, it wasn't so much the battle and Stannis and all that stuff that got me through that episode. It was the stuff with Lena Headey and Sophie Turner, with Cersei and Sansa, that I thought was just super compelling. And even the moment with the Hound before the battle started, all of that stuff to me is what made the action even that much better, because in the same way in this episode, when you've got the cutting back and forth to some really nice dramatic moments, you know, then because I'll snooze in a battle. I didn't like Hardhome as much as most people did. I did, as far as Game of Thrones goes. I didn't like even the Battle of Bastards as much as many people did. I thought the battle at the wall in season 4 was just pathetically boring. But when you mix in those dramatic character moments within it, then I was on board for this episode. And once again, I've watched House of the Dragon this season, and I still think that this particular episode is better than most of those episodes that I saw. So I'm all about it. Come at me, bro, if you don't like it. By saying come at me, bro, I mean send me a tweet or a post on the site formerly known as Twitter at BustBlockbuster, or you can send emails to mattsaudioblog@gmail.com. You can also send posts to at the word double, the letter P, HQ, or you can leave comments on our videos, which you can find at the Double P Media YouTube channel, youtube.com/at the word double, the letter P, the word media. With that said, we're not going to do any music this week, folks. I'm sorry. My schedule was just too busy. I'm not punishing Bear. Thought he did a fantastic job with the score. I will have thoughts about it next week in our final week of coverage for this series for a little while. So stick around for that next week. If that's the only thing you're here for, well, gosh, I'm sorry that I had to bore you with my rating all that time before I dropped the news on you. I probably should have said that first so that you could have just got it on the episode. But hey, now you count as a view, you count as a listen. And so I've done my job clickbaiting you. And there we go. Let's play What's Worse, because nothing's worse than a clickbaiter, right?
I can think of many things.
Many things are worse?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, me too. So instead, let's talk about what's worse for this particular episode. What's worse if you're Elrond, Priscilla? Giving up Galadriel's ring to Adar because you were stupid and brought it into a battle where you could have been killed and anybody could have taken it. Way to go, Elrond, you big failure. Or having to kiss Galadriel after she's been captive for weeks And probably now they've run out of grapes and all those lovely things that Adar fed her at first. And she's probably having to eat orc food as well. So what's worse, Galadriel's bad breath or losing the ring?
I think giving up Galadriel's ring to Adar is worse. Because it's a very important magical artifact that should not be in the hands of a villain. And Ada this season he's a little bit more villainous. Villainous? That's I don't know. He's a little bit more evil. In the first season he was really a dad looking after his family, kind of. That's was his plot, that orcs, they have rights and they have souls and whatever. But now in season 2, he is really concerned about Sauron. He is a little bit more like Galadriel in season 1. And he's even like just considering some of the orcs suffering just to get rid of Sauron. So who knows? And all this plan that he has uniting the two MacGuffins, like the ring and the crown, to defeat Sauron, methinks it won't work. Spoilers. So it's just a waste. And Elrond should hate being wasteful. He's about to lose a lot of things in the next episode. So, and possibly gain one. But anyway. So I think it's worse. And it's worse for the story as the story develops anyway.
It is, that's a pretty good argument there, Priscilla. But I have to tell you, did you see speaking of Adar just being monstrous this season, throwing people like Glug and such under the bus? I mean, Patman will tell you that's just inhumane what he's doing to orcs. Sending Damrod out to just take out everybody. And Damrod using orcs as a shield for arrows. That's a great
moment.
Yeah, a fantastic moment. But perhaps the most villainous or monstrous thing that Adar has done is eating some of those morsels that we saw him eating when he was first negotiating with Galadriel. Those things looked atrocious, and I can only imagine that it makes the worst possible breath, outside of maybe one other incident in this episode that might have a little bit worse breath, but there's no way that Elrond was able to actually kiss Galadriel and not pass out. It was just, it was that may have taken the episode down a half a point for me as well, because it's just unrealistic after Galadriel's been eating what Adar's been eating, for him to not just pass out just as soon as his lips touch hers and he smells that awful breath on her.
Did we see Galadriel actually eating? Just to kill your argument with another arrow, if I may.
This is exactly, we didn't not see her eat any of that stuff, and so therefore we can assume that she has to have eaten something, because she's able to get herself free and kill a couple of orcs. So she still must be nourished.
She's strong. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So therefore, as my argument falls apart right in front of me. Thanks, Priscilla. We shall put this on the poll. We shall put this on the poll at Bust Blockbuster on the site formerly known as Twitter. You'll find the poll there right now. Just go through my main page feed and find the poll and vote on it. Tell me how wrong I am. The second question is, what's worse? Traveling hundreds of miles to defeat a Uruk who ends up besting you in the end anyway, or having to jump on and be face to face with a troll whose breath is likely worse than Galadriel's right now, especially since he just ate a couple of orcs himself right before Arondir jumped on him and had to be in his face as he was laughing and dying.
Should I go first? Again?
You should go first. You should always go first, so that I have to argue whatever you choose, or against whatever you choose.
I really think traveling so far, or so long, we actually don't know how long, but we assume weeks, to defeat Ada, and actually not defeating Ada in the end, Might be worse. However, I really think I still believe in my boy Arondir. I think Arondir must have spiked this sword. He must have done something to Adar. I cannot believe that this is how it's going to end. But for the sake of the argument, I think it's pretty disappointing for you to be so filled with vengeance and like really wanting to kill the person who actually took away your happiness, but then you actually don't. So disappointing.
Yeah, that's a good argument. I guess I'm just on a breath kick, folks. Brush your teeth, take mints, use mouthwash, because I'm surprised once again that Damrod, laughing out his laugh, and as he hars right in Arondir's face, that Arondir didn't just die right then. I don't think we needed Adar to stab him. I think Arondir probably just should have been dead right there. That would have been the great surprise of the episode, not this shock value stupidity thing that they did with Adar and Arondir. That's just me. Again, we'll put this on the poll at Bust Blockbuster on a site formerly known as Twitter. Also, be sure to check at the word double the letters PHQ, because sometimes they retweet them, but only when Bubba feels like it, and only if I've produced a good enough episode for him to feel like it's worth it. And he'll probably look at those questions and say, nah, not this week. But we'll see. We'll see. It's time for our tiny wheel of topics.
Others Army and Arondir.
All right. So is this part of your problem about the traveling thing? The fact that we didn't see Arondir enough, or was that just mostly related to Elrond?
No, I have to be absolutely honest. I noticed that the time thing and the fast travel, but as I said, it doesn't bother me because I keep thinking that the scenes are not actually happening at the same time. They're just being edited at the same time, the way the story goes. It really doesn't bother me, but I think we must acknowledge that they started the season doing very well about the distances with the maps and stuff, and at this point they're not doing it anymore. They are just like, yeah, these things are just happening, and I really feel that like with some throwaway lines here and there, like, oh my God, so many weeks passed since I sent this letter, it didn't arrive, or oh, I have been traveling for like days on end. These little things that might actually make a difference, but also not. This is not a problem that Rings of Power has, like the unclear timeline. Other series have too. So again, doesn't bother me, but I think we should just say what is going on. Yeah, but we have many things happening between Adar and like all the action outside the walls of Eregion. And obviously, I think we should just go ahead and talk about the kiss, which we both, I'm very glad to hear that it didn't bother you, except for this whole thing about the breath. Because people are losing their minds online. And
they are, and I don't understand that. I mean, yeah. It's not. But it was clearly just to it was just to distract. It was just to distract everybody else. They're all going, oh, look at them kiss, so that he can slip her the brooch. That's the only reason he did it. He has no feelings for her in that way. She has no feelings for him in that way. And everybody's making a big mountain out of a molehill. I'm sick of it.
So I'm sick of it too. So let's be rational about one. Elrond doesn't know he will marry Celebrimbor, because guess what? Celebrimbor doesn't exist yet in this rendering of the story.
Do you think that this means that the reason he gets attracted to Celebrimbor, or whatever her name is, Celebrimbor, because he was so attracted to Galadriel?
No. Second, he actually asks for Galadriel's forgiveness before he actually kisses her. You can interpret that he's asking for an overall blanket forgiveness for not actually
For
believing in
letting her
her.
die?
Yeah, but I think it's a blank, he's like, between the elves, this is kind of like very intimate. So he's like, okay, I'm going to cross a line here, so please forgive me. I need a distraction. Three, Adar, he was an elf before, so I really think just like a little kiss on like on the forehead wouldn't do. Elrond had to do something like really like, whoa, this guy is really, come on. Fourth, okay, let's say that Elrond actually wants to kiss somebody. I'm not going to judge a man going to war, trying to get some action, especially if he's an elf, and the elves, they can only have action after
Not
they
only
get
that,
married.
but the
Yeah,
hottest female elf in all of, look at that hair, right? Look at that
exactly.
hair. Even
Yeah.
Sauron loves that hair. So much so that
Yes.
he'll toss,
Yeah.
he'll whisk Merdania right off the wall.
So again, we know Celebrimbor will marry Elrond. Elrond doesn't know, guys. Celebrimbor doesn't exist, so he's not, he's not. And he knows Galadriel for a long time. He knows that Galadriel is actually married. And by the way, with the elves, even if her husband is dead, she's still married, because guess what? They live another time. They actually are not resurrected, they are re-embodied, actually. So that's why he apologized, and it was just a play to pass up the brooch. So sorry, guys. And I have to say, between this whole things that the showrunners do, that the changes in the lore and stuff, that I really think that brings no actual gain to the story, that is just a loss.
Yeah.
That like they change something but it doesn't add anything.
For the sake
This
of it.
is not it, because this is not even a change. This is just like something to keep people kind of
But
intrigued.
it's lore busting. They never kissed in Tolkien's books. It's lore busting. Come on, people.
And then what happened? People, between Rings of Power and House of the Dragon, like people are more engaged online with House of the Dragon because of the material. Also, the story is more intriguing, perhaps because it has more telenovela, like flavor. And then Rings of Power does something to spice things up so people can get outraged, and people get outraged, and this is exactly what the showrunners wanted. And there you have it. You have a moment that people are like talking because it's stupid.
It's the first topic of our podcast.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I'm like, am I losing my mind? Am I seeing like grown men almost crying because two characters fake kiss just to create a distraction?
Yeah, agreed. It's just
I think you should.
Yeah, we need to take a chill pill, people, is what we're saying. Just don't think about it, except that it was merely a way to distract everyone in the room, because, like Priscilla said, that kind of stuff doesn't happen with elves, not in public. Yeah. And so when you have that, nobody's going to look at Elrond slipping her a brooch with his other hand. Yeah. Nobody's going to look at that. It was a perfect ploy. It just I never thought it would incite such a riot on the internet.
And remember, kids. Yeah, Elrond is a good guy here, and he's trying to save a friend. So even if he's a little bit too horny, if the kiss was too long, we should not judge the guy. He thinks he's going to die. Let's remember that, please.
Okay. What else about it? Okay, so I guess we should go on the record. So is Arondir gonna die or not this season?
I hope he dies, honestly.
You
Just
want
to add, I have to clarify. I just want the story to have some stakes, and like one of the main characters dying would actually make, oh my god, nobody's safe. Have this kind of flavor to it. But I like Arondir. I don't want him to die. But if this was the way he would go, I would not be mad at it. Especially because he doesn't even remember about Tell, probably. So, and
yeah.
Tell is an adult. Tell is an adult now for a man. So RNG, he can go. He already done his part.
Yeah, I think that it does have to come down to one A or the other dying. Um, Either Arondir or Adar, one of the two of them. Now, I would likely suspect that it's going to be Adar. I don't imagine Sauron's going to sit quietly while Adar tore up his plans to try to get those rings done, because he barely got them done. And now, of course, he's inconvenienced from the fact that Celebrimbor got a spine. But and of course,
No, we know Adar is going to die.
this is just
we know
another.
that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but on the other hand, Arondir could just as easily die. So you could make it impactful either way. You can feel justice because Adar, who is nothing more than a servant of Morgoth people, he's still following the Morgoth way. It's not that he loves his fellow orc, and I don't know why Patman loves Adar so much, because he does not love his fellow orc. Adar is not like Patman. He does not love his fellow orc. He could care less what happens to Glug. He's still serving the Mordeth way, and I'm beginning to get the vibe that it was not about saving his children as much as it was just getting rid of the other second man in charge, Sauron, that initial murder. So I look at Adar very much as a villain.
Right now, yes.
And I haven't really cared about his storyline all season. I've said that before, and I hate to keep reiterating that, but it's like and it's not because he's not part of the lore. I'm not somebody who's out here shouting lore buster like the whole rest of the internet. I'm just saying, like, he's decent character. I feel like he's done enough with his time. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So I would rather see Adar go than Arondir. But I think you're right in the fact that Arondir might actually be more impactful, because it sets you expect your bad guys to die. You don't expect your good guys to die. So
yeah, let's think about it. Like one of the things that drag down the series is that there's too many disjoint plot points, like elements. You have the Numenor.
Priscilla, Theo is not
disjointed.
disjointed. Theo is the most important character in this story. Don't you try and sideline him by sidelining Arondir.
No, so you have so many things, so many pieces of the puzzle. I think, like season 1, it was good, it was okay, but there was so many pieces of the puzzle that you could, and every time that you were actually engaging with the story, you had to jump to another part of of Middle Earth, or sometimes Numenor. It actually is good thing to start like trimming down and actually getting to the bottom of the story. And we are going to see that the Eregion will be gone, so this will be less characters to focus on. So I don't think it's a spoiler about Celebrimbor. He will die. I think we should not talk about how he will die, but anyway. So Arondir is somebody that we were introduced as a point of view character from a kind of elf that is not royalty, because Galadriel is royalty, Elrond is royalty, Gil-galad is a high king, so he's like the common elf. we already seen the common elf, so he might as well,
Well,
go.
and I can see Arondir and even Bronwyn's importance in season 1 because it helps establish the storyline for the the creation of Mordor, basically.
Yes.
So it had its purpose, but if you're gonna, I don't know if the actress just wasn't available or declined to do the role, or if she was
I
told
think
that there
she
was nothing.
declined.
Is that what it
I
was?
think she declined. Yeah,
Probably because she got so much internet hate from people who were calling it lore busting.
No, she's an activist, so she's doing social political activist full time. I don't think she's retired, but she's definitely took a time out from
Okay.
acting.
Well,
Yeah.
good for her. Somebody needs to help change this world. So, at any rate, I saw that the Arondir storyline served its purpose, but like you, and it was good for world building as well. But
Yes, absolutely.
at the same time, we've built this world pretty well. There's still more we can do, but I don't think we need a character like Arondir to do it. And send your hate tweets, your hate posts to @bustblockbuster because people will
Don't
come at me because they're Arondir fans.
don't get me
And
wrong.
I'm an
Arondir
Arondir
fan.
fan too,
Yeah,
but I
I'm just
totally agree
saying.
with you. The
Yeah,
story needs a change. So
I'm just saying that I wouldn't be mad and I would understand the narrative going on without Arondir. But if Arondir is still there, it's okay too.
but on the other hand, going by the lore, we are going to lose other aspects of the storyline. I mean, I can't foresee too many people surviving the whole Numenor thing when it finally comes down the pike. That'll go. We're seeing Aragion go, as you talked about before. So all of those things will limit down the story too. So do you need a Legolas elf to stick around to keep the elves looking good when they, in season 5 when they finally battle Sauron for the last time?
Yeah, I mean, Numenor. I think the whole thing it's going to come to a crashing and next season.
Next season, I agree.
Next season. This does not mean that we are not going to see the characters of Numenor again, because as the story goes, some people do go to Middle Earth, including Isildur, and this is a very important part of the lore. So when we say it's a very good thing to actually start like trimming down the storyline, is just this jumping around locations, most likely, and the abundance of characters. RNG, as you said, served its purpose. We don't know if the showrunners will give him another purpose or if they are going to keep on doing this normal elf storyline. They could possibly do that. Yeah,
Well, he's
but
Legolas. He's got
Numenor,
all the moves, baby.
yeah,
Plus, he looks great.
he
Some
looks
people
great.
tune in
Yeah.
just to see him. So
He looks great too. Yeah, yeah, and it's actually good to see. Yeah, I'm torn. As I said,
yeah,
let's.
For me, I
would
can go.
prefer
I can
not.
go
Yeah.
with it either way.
Yeah.
If they decide that this is fine, and I say, yeah, that's a good reason why. If they decide to continue on with him, I, then I can say, okay, well, you'll come up with another purpose for him, or you won't, and we'll blast you for it later. Either way, it's fine with me. Anything else about Adar? Glug, man,
Oh,
he's Glug is all in his feelings, man. He's been hurt by Daddy because Daddy's killing
Glug.
so many
I
of his
really like.
brothers.
I really like Glug and his family. I really feel for them.
Yeah,
It's a pity that they are orcs, so we are not supposed actually to feel much for them. But Tolkien said that they would reproduce like men and elves, so it's it's good to see this happening. We haven't seen that yet, like on the screen, so
always good to see a
I
baby.
would
Yep.
say it's good. Yeah, and maybe Glug he will survive that, and maybe he will have like a new. By the end of the season, he will shift alliances. Who knows?
Ooh.
Maybe
He's,
Sauron will offer a better deal.
oh. Okay, now that I can see. I thought you were talking about with elves or something, and I was like, nah, that ain't happening.
No, 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 no. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Definitely not. And speaking about Numenor again, so we have so many things that we need to, like, so many plots that we need to finalize the
Yeah.
last episode, as usual with Rings of Power, and as usual with all the series that only have 8 episodes to tell a story. So we have Isildur. He has to return to Numenor. We have to see him at least leaving Middle Earth. We have to see things at Numenor, Tamiria, possibly what is the true meaning of the Pharazôn's vision, the Palantir that he saw our
Sauron,
beautiful
Halbrand. Yeah.
Halbrand. Yeah. If I can see that they like sometimes instead of like Durin arriving, that the Númenóreans arrive to save Gil-galad and Elrond at least, because they are, and that would be like interesting because that would be accurate to what happened
Hmm.
about this period, but it would be like from the adaptation point of view, it would actually be quite clever. Now you have like Pharazôn just going to Middle Earth because he thinks that Halbrand has something that he wants, and he's, it's not self. It's a completely selfish reason that he's going there,
Yeah.
and this solves all the problems. Then you have like the Númenóreans back again, the end of the siege of Eregion, Sauron possibly going to Númenor, Isildur returning to Númenor. Yeah,
Yeah.
but all
I
this in 1 hour.
not gonna happen.
Yeah,
Uh, but we can't drop this topic and spin the wheel again quite yet because we do have to talk about my very favorite troll in this television series. Wait a minute, is he the only troll in this television series?
I think so.
Damrod. Um,
What a legend.
man, if you know you're going out, go out with a laugh, retaining your sense of humor because there's hey, none of us get out of this life alive, right?
Yeah.
So let's just take a page from Damrod, who lived life to its fullest up to the very end, enjoying doing what he was doing. Never got anywhere close to his goal. Never got even within earshot of Sauron.
Let's
But
do this too. Damrod.
didn't care. Was having fun ripping apart elves and orcs, using orcs as shields for arrows from elves, and I mean perhaps the single greatest character ever written for this series, in my opinion.
Yeah, he will
Not
be
going to call me
missed.
out on that, huh? Okay.
No, never. I'm just wondering how are they going to dispose of the body?
Well, if he died in the riverbed, all they got to do is undam the river and just let him wash away.
Ugh, disgusting. Yeah, I don't want to think about it. Let's go.
Where did it land? Where did it land, Priscilla?
Triple C, cerebral, Celebrimbor, Calamity.
Yes. Yeah. See what happens when you finally figure it out, Brimby? When you
The
finally
Matrix.
figure it out, that's you had the glitch in the Matrix, the deja vu, the thing that everybody in the Matrix absolutely hates to see. You figured it out, and guess what happens? Your world goes to crap real quick. Poor
Yeah.
guy. You know what? And he's not only getting blamed for being crazy because Sauron slash Anatar has painted a picture for everybody to believe to where he sounds like he's absolutely crazy when he comes out trying to tell everybody the truth. But Sauron is so clever, and I
Okay,
hate to be a Sauron fan, but
I'm
Sauron
sorry.
is so. Hang on, let me finish this.
No,
Uh,
no, just a quick question. Do you think if Celebrimbor had showered and changed clothes and perhaps like done his hair
his
and then
tower is destroyed. Where's he going to shower at?
then do you think the elves would be more open to believe in him?
I don't know, but what I do know is that they think that he killed Mordania.
Yes, and he didn't, poor
Because
guy.
he happened to just brush her arm away, and Sauron in his brilliant mind just did the little hand flip, and off goes Mordania off the wall.
My boy Sauron is so clever. Let's all agree. He's very clever. He sees an opportunity, a tiny window, and he uses. Amazing.
He did that quite well. Plus,
Yeah.
he was having to maintain the magic of the blood on his hand being red at the same time. Although that was probably the hand that he whisked Mordania off the wall with, kind of underneath his robe there. But poor Mordania, he just never learned. Don't
we
ever fall.
knew, we
Hey,
knew.
stop!
We knew she would die. Yeah.
Stop falling for bad men. This is my advice. Stop falling for bad men, because this is what happens to you when you fall for the bad guy. When you're drawn to the dark side of men.
She just did not know better. I cannot blame the victim here.
All right, so I won't victim blame anymore, but I will say, Celebrimbor, too little, too late, bro. But he did manage to set up the imminent Galadriel Sauron face-off that
Yes.
we've been seeing in the trailer shot. One of the few trailer shots left that we haven't seen in any episode yet is them facing off with the crown and him and Sauron with the sword. And she's got the ring, so obviously he's going to win. He's not going to kill her because he's in love with her, which is lore busting, which is something that I'm a little bit upset about.
I don't think he's in love with Galadriel. I think he sees Galadriel as a promising possible ally. And let's remember, Sauron, like, he really wants to have a number two.
Well, everybody needs a good bowel movement every once in a while. But
no, a number two as a second in command. Sorry.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, disregard that last bit then.
Yeah, or not. Maybe you never know.
Well, I mean, if his blood's black, imagine what that stool looks like.
Okay, let's move away from this.
Yeah, let's move away. So he finishes the rings saying he feels this sense of freedom and everything, because he's been basically having a what was that coffee, the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. That's the or something like that. He's basically been having that commercial run in his mind for who knows how long. Did he mention a passage of time, a couple of weeks or whatever? You would think normally a siege would last more than 1 week.
I think he mentioned, Celebrimbor, you mean, right? That he's been there for weeks. Yeah, I think he mentioned.
But the thing I didn't understand is, did that mean since the time Anatar arrived, or just since he'd been trapped?
I think since he's been trapped.
Okay. Or before he, not actually chained, but since he started working on the 9 rings.
Yes, because Anatar, I think last episode, it was already like, let's not bother poor old Celebrimbor, right? He has to be there, and I will be Lord of Eregion, he said, but he has to be there, and he's going a little bit crazy, so let's just leave him be. So I think from that standpoint, from that point on, is that the weeks passed.
Yeah.
That's what I understood.
The one thing that came up, and again, I don't know how many people out there on the internet are calling this lore busting or not. But, you know, I remember thinking when Sauron went to see the dwarves, it's like, and then he came back with Mithril. I'm like, well, where did he get that from? Well, evidently he never had it. He just created the substitute with his own blood. So that's interesting. But what that means, I mean, I'm not a lorehead, folks, as you can probably tell. So I don't even know if the men's rings ever had any mithril in them or not. I do know that as far as what some loreheads are saying is not exactly correct with this particular circumstances, the only thing that Sauron actually poured any of himself into was the One Ring itself, as opposed to any of these other rings. But this, I mean, if that is Sauron's blood or some facsimile of his blood, then he has literally poured himself into the rings of men. The other thing I think about is the fact that, you know, the men seem to not handle the rings as well as everybody else. I mean, we've seen it affect dwarves a little bit. The elves seem to be able to, so far, be able to manage what the rings are doing to them to a certain degree. But men just, they would just go flat out evil. And maybe this is just kind of a nice metaphoric way, be it lore busting or not. Again, I don't know, but it's just kind of a metaphoric way to show how susceptible men are to the temptation that Sauron offers. So
let's go a little bit theorizing lore-wise what this means. We know like the series has the Order of the Rings all crazy, no? You have it's done incorrectly. We know for sure that Sauron he forged the One Ring in Mordor. So he goes to Celebrimbor. They work on the rings for the man. He goes to Mordor, forges the One Ring. Celebrimbor realizes who he is, so he forges the 3 rings and gives to the elves as some sort of balance,
protection, or balance.
Mithril, the whole thing with the Mithril is more kind of like show based. It's lore. We know for sure, Tolkien wrote that Sauron had great interest in Mithril, that he would always gather Mithril if he could. And one of the 3 rings actually is made of mithril. So the whole thing about the man, it was really to enslave men. It did not work so well for the dwarves, because the dwarves, they are more immune to magic.
Oh, okay.
But they worked in a way to enhance their flaws.
Right.
For instance, so it doesn't work as intended. It doesn't turn the dwarves into servants of Sauron, but it makes the dwarves go a little bit slightly crazy. The men, no, exactly. The men, as Celebrimbor in the series said, but the men are more susceptible. In the whole creation of the lore, like the elves are kind of there to teach men to be better, and but the world as it is, it's actually designed for man. So that's why they always say the time of the elves has come to an end, and they have to go to Valinor, they have to go to their paradise. But in the end, Tolkien kind of makes this assumption that the souls of the man are immortal. So even if the whole universe collapses and actually ends, the souls of the man would still continue, whereas the souls of the elves, they are actually attached to
The world.
universe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm trying to say here in conclusion is that yes, the rings as intended, they really have this sort of devastating effect in the men that they don't have in the elves for one reason, and in the dwarves for another reason entirely. The elves, the three rings are not, they are made with not through Sauron. So Celebrimbor uses some sort of like techniques possibly that he learned from Sauron, but they are not made. Sauron only knows about the rings once he has the one ring and he knows that the three elf lords put it there. And they use kind of sparingly too, right? They don't keep like using all the time, like ah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, because the rings also they also, this metaphor between the unseen world and the seen world. So that's why when we done like Bilbo, like they put the ring, they disappear. It's not that they disappear, it's because they go to the unseen world. So they disappear for us. But the Sauron, we know that he poured a lot in the One Ring. That's for sure.
Right.
And this, but actually, honestly, I like the interpretation that they are doing, that the rings for the men, they are so corrupt. They are so evil. And that's why Sauron wants them so badly, and that's why he's attacking Region in the.
Plus, that's the one group of people that he truly fears, right? I mean, we even hear that throughout all of the lore, is that it is men who he fears more so than anything else.
But I really like the interpretation that Sauron really, like, he went all for this 9 rings. It's like, yeah, that's it. They are mine. And how can you blame him? Like, he gave all the materials, he gave all the knowledge, and like Celebrimbor only had to do it. So yeah, it kind of belongs to him, actually. Just saying.
Gotcha. Anything else about Celebrimbor? I thought the acting of Charles Edwards and Morfydd Clark both in that scene towards the end, even beautiful. Though there was the amount of regret that both of them expressed was moving to me, very moving.
Yes.
So I loved that. Just beautiful acting. I'm going to miss Charles Edwards when Celebrimbor's gone. I didn't really consider too much of who he was or anything like that when season 1 came out. I just thought, okay, some dude's playing the guy who made the rings. And it wasn't very important to me. And I imagine that there are probably some people out there who have criticisms about some of the things that they've done, or maybe even the way that he doesn't seem to fit the mold of what they thought Celebrimbor was going to be. Yeah. But I've found his performance to be magical. I'm glad he really got a chance in this episode to show off his ability. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So hats off to Charles Edwards again for just an incredible job. Pretty much the whole season, now that you can look back on it.
Yeah.
Even when Brimby is frustrating because he's just such a knucklehead in the first half of the season, this kind of made up for all of that. It's just kind of like, oh man, I feel terrible for this guy because he feels so terrible for what has happened.
That is not like, if the showrunners like wanted to even add another layer to that scene, and I'm glad they didn't, because the scene was already emotional as it is. Yeah. Like one of the versions of the version that is actually more like final in terms of Tolkien is that Celebrimbor never married because he was in love with whom?
Oh God.
You see, people complain about everybody wanting Galadriel, but that's the way Tolkien wrote, dudes.
Boy, Tolkien was just hard up for female characters that everybody should love, wasn't he?
Yeah, she was that one. She was the lady, actually. And
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
but it was lovely the way they did. I wouldn't change one bit. It was lovely and heartbreaking, and you know,
yeah.
thank God Celebrimbor had these last moments of sanity and of hope. He actually showed some hope that things would actually get better now that he had
Yeah, after they faked
made the
his death
decision.
about 4 times throughout the
Ah,
course of the
yeah, but
episode.
that's something that they like to do.
Yeah,
The mystery box and the faking deaths.
I'll say. Yeah, Amazon studio notes. They got to be. Um,
They really like it, right?
they really like that stuff. I don't know why. Uh, but yeah, and also, the actress who played Merdania all season did a really good job.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
rest
she
in
was
peace
really
both to
good.
that character and to that
She
actor's portrayal of it.
she will be like in the halls of Mandos very soon.
They even mentioned that in the episode, did they not?
Thanks. Yeah,
Or they
I
mentioned
think so.
somebody would be in the halls of Mandos, didn't they?
Yeah,
So that would be her, I suppose. So
she will.
so when elves die, that's where they go. That's kind of like
Yes,
their heaven, so
that's
to
the
speak.
thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's actually kind of a purgatory because they are there to actually like process the trauma of their life and death. And then Mandos like will say, "Oh, you're okay now," and then they get re-embodied, so they get to live again as a whole thing.
And from that lifetime, they don't have to return back to Mandos if they manage to live that life out in Middle Earth. They can just return to the Valinor Strait, right?
No, Mandos is in Valinor, so they're going to Valinor. They're
Oh, so they just re-embody and they don't get to come back to Middle Earth or fix the things that they've been traumatized about?
the only one that we know was re-embodied and returned to Middle Earth is the fan favorite character that I forgot the name.
A real fan favorite, ladies and gentlemen. Don't ask me
Yeah,
to be able to fill in that blank.
no. Let me Google. You know what? I know his name. It's this like I really like him, but he's never there. He's never there. It's the Lord of the House of the Golden Flower, but I forgot his name because he has two names. Uh, Glorfindel. I'm sorry, Glorfindel. He is the elf that was re-embodied in Valinor and sent back to Middle Earth, and he's supposed to arrive right now. Right now,
Okay. Maybe
actually,
maybe we'll get him in
before
season 3
the
then.
before the Last Alliance for sure. Uh, and I forgot. I really apologize for Glorfindel. I had a terrible day today. I love you, Glorfindel.
Well, I had a terrible day when I saw a bunch of CGI horses get their throats slit. I cheered CGI horses when they kicked orcs, but I did not cheer when that orc killed Elrond's horse. PETA, get on that. The unethical treatment of animals, not just real animals, but CGI animals too. We've got to do something
Wait,
about this.
so let me get this straight. You're sad because a CGI animal was killed in action.
Yeah, but it felt real to me.
Okay, yeah, I understand.
No, you know what? Very well done stuff. And I'll give it credit to Robert Armeo for the acting
He's such a
there
good
as
actor.
well.
I really
He
like him.
really, I mean, the relationship between an elf and their horse is
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous, right? And so he really brought that to screen. So
And
I
he's so
really love that.
cute. He's very cute. I really like him also.
Well, I wasn't
I
going to
have
say anything about that, but if you want to objectify people, let's
Don't
objectify
you think?
Glug. Glug is the
I
most
mean,
beautiful human being I've ever seen.
Aaron is cute. Yogala is cute. But yeah,
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
wanted to say
But
that.
let's just say she has no problem also saying Sauron is hot. So
Very hot. No, Sauron is off the charts.
Yeah, not even measurable.
No.
We've already discussed the kiss, so there's no reason to talk about that. But
It was a
it,
hot kiss, I have to admit. I felt very like, whoa, yeah. It was a good kiss.
yeah, it was a good kiss, I guess. I mean, I don't ever judge those things, but that's just me. I mean,
Oh,
it's
oh my God, I'm so intellectual. I'm not judging the kiss. Yeah, of course.
that's not it. It's just it's kind of like my first thought is, oh, well, he's obvious. I just saw him take his brooch off, so he's obviously distracting everybody. I didn't think
Yeah,
anything about the fact of I didn't start pointing at the screen and going, "Hey, that's his future mother-in-law," you know.
yeah.
So
People are crazy, crazy.
people went nuts over that, and we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about his inability to lead an elf troop, his inability to get Durin to actually be able to forsake his own land for his own home
For a second.
just to help a stupid elf. I mean, come on,
Let's
you got to
just
be
say,
better at that, Elrond. You got to get your stuff together. You
no,
got to
no,
be
no.
able to convince him. You got to do more Sauron
If
like things.
if if Durin had cut his very amazing speech couple more minutes, he would leave a little bit earlier, and then he would be able to save Aaron.
That's what it is. Durin needs a new speechwriter. We got to get this thing in a certain time window. Durin, it's all Durin's fault. That was heartbreaking too, though, to see Elrond so much faith in his friend at the end
Yeah.
there. Durin will come. Durin will come. Durin doesn't come.
But come on, he had a good reason not to come. And if Aaron cannot forgive
Yeah,
his
we can talk
friend,
about that in the dwarfs part. This is for
yeah, okay.
Elrond's side. This is Elrond's side. To see his heart
Uh,
break like that,
okay,
again, Robert Ameo, fantastic job. Those were the moments
fantastic.
that were big. I didn't care about him swinging a sword. Did you know that that actor had never ridden a horse before he started shooting Lord of the Rings and before he started
No.
shooting Rings of Power? And they had him in this episode actually riding full gallop through woods while they filmed it. They talked about that on the inside the episode part that you get. And I guess it was a stunt coordinator or the director of photography. I don't remember who said it. But yeah, he he didn't like horses, I think, when he started. And now he's doing all of this crazy stuff, so a lot of it on his own. So hats off to him for digging in and learning the stuff. But I don't care about any of that. I care about those moments, like when him and Durin see each other for the first time, which again we can talk about in the dwarf stuff. I care about him hoping that you know that Durin will calm, and then his heart getting broken by the fact that Durin won't calm. So again, I just found his story to be compelling outside of the battle parts. I didn't care whether he had any part in taking the troll down. I didn't care any of that stuff. That none of that means anything to me. What means something to me is to see his heart get broken by Durin. What means something to me is to see him pull off a fantastic play, which it's not his fault that the internet hates it. It was a great play, Elrond. You did the exact right thing, kissing Galadriel and getting her free. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
everything was done so well with that character, and yet a complete failure. So he tells the Selena Lowe elf, we've got to blow up that thing that's going to break down the wall when all Damrod's going to do is just run it through the wall. And why did there happen to be a bunch of explosive stuff on the Ravager? Those were the kinds of little things, and poor Selena Lowe's elf, whatever, I can't remember the character's name, sorry, but I thought that actress did a cool
I don't
thing.
know. Yeah.
The whole Boromore thing, which we've seen before, but who cares? It was still one of those really moving moments. Not because it was part of a battle or because the result made any difference whatsoever, but just because it's like, yeah, they'll do anything. Um, they'll cling to life just a moment longer to do something that may or may not help. That kind of stuff was cool. Not that Elrond really had anything to do with that, but you know, because
So he was
Selena's
promoted.
low elf was a hero, you know.
And did you like Gil-galad's moves too? That was cool.
Gil-galad had some cool moves.
Yeah.
I know that the spear is supposed to be that character in the books are kind of like their signature weapon or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know how any lore heads feel about how any of that was choreographed, but it was impressive enough to me. Again, the battle stuff don't really care about. Don't care that Arondir jumped off a bridge to knock the troll down like it was some kind of
For someone
wrestling
who doesn't
federation
care,
match.
you are talking a lot about Arondir.
I'm trying to bring up the stuff because everybody thinks that Arondir's hot. I'm just trying to get clicks, baby. Just trying to go viral,
Okay.
get clicks. That's all I'm doing.
So let's just put like as a thumbnail Arondir like flying.
Yeah, well, talk to Bubba about that. He's the champion of getting clicks.
Yeah.
What else? What do you have about Elrond? Because I've been rambling on forever.
I know it's okay. Like we can go on.
Okay. What do we got left here? Just one topic, right? Other than odds and ends.
The Durin, unfortunately, the dad's dumb.
Yeah,
Digging.
Daddy's dumb digging designs Durin's dilemma. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
And there wasn't nearly that much of a mouthful, except as far as Durin's speech goes. Durin's speech was a mouthful, but it was a moving speech. I think that actor does such a fantastic job, and him and Disa, you and I have always talked about how this is a one of our favorite storylines to follow.
It's very good.
What a terrible timing of Daddy to decide to just go nuts and start digging himself. I mean, because you know that the Balrog's coming now. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, we saw the trailer, right?
Yeah. So, well, they basically said exactly what was going to happen. He's like, you're going to dig too deep and get the mind out. So he asked, I mean, he's got to stay there and try and stop his dad from destroying his home and destroying all of his relatives and destroying all of his people.
I'm kind of like concerned about. I know we don't care that much about being faithful to the lore. Problem is, I don't know how the series will do things that might affect the lore going forward. For instance, they cannot change things that will happen in the trilogy or in the Hobbit, right?
Well, isn't it shortly after Eregion that Tolkien says that the gates of Moria were closed anyway?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the ring that the Durin was is wearing.
Yeah, because why would anybody pass that ring down?
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I get that. That would be a concern.
That would be
on the other hand, if they're compressing the timeline so much, if they're compressing 2,000 years down to a couple of hundred, the same dwarves could be wearing the ring, you know? So it wouldn't matter if it was passed down or not. But
yeah, true. Let's see how they do. There are many things that I am curious how they will do it. Like, and as we discussed it already, like only one episode left. Ugh.
Yeah.
So
lots of cliffhangers.
It will be rough. It will be rough.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I'm encouraged about for season 3 of Rings of Power is that they've hired on 2 of the writers from The Crown, one of my favorite series of all time.
Yeah.
You don't like The Crown?
No. I don't watch anything to do with British monarchy. It's like, I don't want to humanize.
It's an amazing series.
I don't want to humanize the lizards.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's fair enough. I understand. I don't want to humanize Adar, but I've been forced to all season.
Come on.
I don't want to
I already-
humanize Sauron, but I've been forced to all season.
I already explained to you. You are doing a Rings of Power podcast, so you have to talk about orcs. It's on in the contract. You have to. Orcs are people too. And Sauron, come on. He has been very good for the story. Like, now that Sauron is out of the bag, so to speak, the story has picked up. Has picked up now, so it's very good. Yeah, we should talk more about Sauron, actually.
We probably should. What hand does Sauron have in all of this, other than the ring influencing Daddy Durin? Does Sauron have any influence over the Balrog? Did the fact that Mount Doom blew up, which was really kind of Sauron's plan anyway, even though Adar did it, I think that was all part of Sauron's plan. So the fact that this mountain shook and blew up kind of disturbed the Balrog, brought him a little closer to the surface, so that Disa could sing a note trying to get a worthless rock that broke, shattered. And now the Balrog knows that everybody's there, and Daddy Durin now is digging towards the Balrog, and the Balrog's probably moving towards Daddy.
Okay. Now it's back. We can combine these and the odds and ends, because it just occurred to me, we were saying, like, it's kind of dangerous to put this is all Sauron's fault. Remember, I think second episode or third episode, we were saying about when Galadriel and Elrond were going after Sauron, and they were discussing about the bridge, and I was like, that's a danger of this series now, is to put, like, with that, we already know that Sauron is back, is to
blame him for everything.
Exactly. And it just, the things of the messengers. This is basically how the messengers that were sent from Lindon to Eregion. It was the Barrow-wights that they killed, but it could also be a little bit, how did Adar learn about the rings? I think the only way he could learn about the rings was because of that.
How did Halbrand know that the rings worked?
He just learned that the rings worked at Eregion, because Celebrimbor was like, "Oh, the rings work then." It was like, "Oh, yeah."
Oh, okay.
Right. So, do you think we are going to learn that really everything was Sauron's fault by the end? Like, everything. Because I really think that some things were Adar's fault. Adar is the second villain of the story.
If some things were Adar's fault, then you got to explain that before you kill him.
Yeah, I fully expect Adar to try to have the last word and say something about, I rest you, and this
I did this, and I did that.
Yeah. I think the orcs are going to kill Adar.
You think it's the orcs that are going to do it? Sauron's going to turn them against him?
Possibly. Like,
although he's kind of turning them against himself, I guess. But
full circle, going full circle. You see, this guy, he said he was your father, but he doesn't care about you. I'm not your father, but I will give you, like, a whole piece of land and whatever. You can do whatever you want. And
lands and titles, ladies and gentlemen. Lands and titles. It's the best way to buy an army. Yeah. Until further notice, I'm just blaming everything on Sauron. It's simpler.
Yeah.
It's Occam's razor. It's simple. It doesn't require any kind of conditioned thought, any kind of critical thought. All I have to do is just say Sauron did it, and there's your podcast. There's your hot take, ladies and gentlemen. Sauron did it all. Sauron did it all. And anything else about the dwarves? What, Disa said, you got to call the guys back. Why didn't you just say, it's one guy with an axe? Do you really got to call everybody back? Couldn't you have just used 100 troops, 200 troops, maybe even, to take care of Daddy Durin, to take care of Double D. You didn't need to like totally leave Elrond in a lurch. However, I can see this being the seeds for why Elrond in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings says that the dwarves just hide in their mountains. I'm not sure that the real Elrond in the books actually said that, but I am sure that Elrond in PJ's movies said that at one point. So I love the seeds of this. It's kind of like, I needed your help. The thing is that the relationship between if you're going to stay even in PJ's universe, there's still some kind of communication between dwarves and elves, even up to the time of the Hobbit, which is well into the Third Age.
Oh yeah, Schmog. Lonely Mountain.
The Lonely Mountain. There it is.
Erebor.
Erebor. That's the name of it. It just seems it seems a little bit too early to be calling a lack of communication between dwarves and elves. This is my only point. There could be a cooling off period in between. Don't get me wrong. It just and I do believe that when Eregion falls, that Tolkien says something to the effect of the gates of Moria were closed.
Yeah, Moria was in the Lord of the Rings. You're right. That Gandalf talks about Moria when they are passing through. Yeah, that's true.
Behold the dwarven realm of Khazad-dûm, he says. You see nothing but rock posts.
And then we learned about the dwarves that were there. Oh God, how there were like what, the Balrog and the Watcher in the Water, right?
Yep.
So we're definitely getting the Balrog, because I was telling, well, maybe it's the Watcher in the Water. Remember when Jesus?
Oh yeah, I guess it probably will be the Balrog if the trailer is not misleading us for some reason.
So there goes my theory. Sorry.
Oh well, that stuff happens.
It's not theory. All I
gotta do is open my mouth and be wrong, Priscilla. So it doesn't take much. See, watch.
Terrible memory.
Watch what happens. Wrong. Anything else on the drawers?
No, I hope the Balrog just goes away. That's all I have to say.
Just goes away.
Yeah.
Come back another day.
Yeah, he's just like, maybe not. Maybe not today.
Not yet. So that wraps up our topics of discussion. As I said earlier, I don't have any musical analysis, so we're going to be talking about our 3-word description of the episode. Mine is very meta. Make Twitter crazy. Yeah. Make Twitter crazy, because that's exactly what this episode did. For no understandable reason. Absolutely zero understandable reason. But that's what the internet is. It's a place where people don't understand. And therefore, you have no understandable reason for making Twitter crazy with a distraction method. Again,
the internet was a mistake.
Some people say that it was. I don't know if I do. I don't. Without the internet, I couldn't have you on this podcast. Not without a very expensive phone bill.
Remember, if you type the internet was a mistake.com, I think there is you go somewhere.
Wow.
I think so.
That's so ironic. That's hilarious. You can only have the internet was a mistake as a .com, which is on the internet. Perfect. What were your 3 words, Priscilla?
Oh. There, sacrifice, deception, and hope.
Oh. Well, you went and got all serious on me. I was just slamming the internet.
Oh, no, come on.
Oh, it's a URL that is a 404. That's exactly perfect. The internet was a mistake. The internet made a mistake trying to find internetwasamistake.com. Let's play the One Ring. We're gonna give the Ring of Power awards. So, what character gets to hold one of the rings of power? Or you can do a storyline, or you can do both. You can do whatever you want.
No, I'll give to Brimby.
Rimby.
Celebrimbor. Come on. It was his time.
Yes, I agree. And again, I see in your note here, you get the thing about the only thing that defeats darkness is light. That's a great speech. That's a really good speech. Loved it.
We're going to miss you, Brimby.
Brimby gone. Brimby as good as gone. Soon as
Yeah.
Sauron figures out where the 9 rings are, Brimby gone. I completely agree with you. Brimby would get my ring of power. Now my ring of powerless goes to the Arondir storyline. Psych. Let's stab Arondir. Psych. There was no value in that whole thing at all, and it completely diminishes one of the most important characters of the whole story, Theo, because
Yeah, of course.
Theo is just too important to lose mommy and dad and stepdad in the same season.
No, Theo said that Arondir was not his father, so because he doesn't know who his father is. So
yeah, well, he didn't say it in words, but you could read it because Theo is such a deep character. You could read it when during the last time that they talked together, that Theo was reconsidering Arondir as his stepfather. That was just that whole "you're not my daddy" thing. That was just him trying to push away because he was hurt because mommy was gone. This is the kind of depth of character that Theo has. This is exactly why we need more Theo.
He's going to be a 30-year-old man, right? The way
doesn't matter. He's still going to be the most important character in the story, no matter what his age is. Just remember that name, folks. We'll probably not see him again for the rest of the season. We may not ever see him again, but Theo is the name that must be remembered throughout the annals of the Rings of Power.
I think he's going to wave goodbye to Isildur. The next episode.
Let's get into some feedback here. So, this one is from Dennis, who says, "Finally, an oasis of intelligent, astute, and balanced criticism and discourse on the Lord of the Rings of Power. Was late arriving to this party, but watched all of this season's reviews and recaps. Love your music analysis segments." Whoop, disappointed you there this time around. Your 3-word segments, mine wasn't too great. And your rating system. Okay, we did okay on that this episode. Thank you both, and keep up the good work. Well, I'm sorry we did not keep up the good work this episode. I've been absolutely horrible. Priscilla's been even worse. And I'm kidding. What? I'm kidding. Priscilla's always fantastic. So you can always thank her for providing good content. I'm just a person who's half here, half the time. Halfway.
Yeah.
Tails Yuki says this. Oh, by the way, Dennis, thank you so much for leaving that very kind review. And so, again, so sorry that we've just made a complete liar out of you with this podcast episode. I have. Not Priscilla. I have. Tails Yuki, who I believe last week was Lugrin, but then they changed their YouTube name based on some of the other comments that they left on the video. But Tails Yuki says, giant wave by the end of season 2. The way they're stretching is, I think season 2 will end with something, and a giant wave only on season 3. No? Here's your spoilers. And folks, this will be spoiling. Season 2 should end with Numenor defeating and capturing Sauron. No? Is there time for a giant wave? No. You're absolutely correct, Tails Yuki. Yeah. We were making a joke. We were making a joke poorly.
We are just joking about that. We hate
the storyline so much. Yeah. We want it to be over. That was the joke. But no, you're correct. I think season 3 would be a good time for the wave. On the other hand, I don't think they're going to do the whole Sauron being captured by Numenor. I think that they've kind of quasi already done that by Halbrand being in jail in season 1, and they're just going to say, well, it's just certain. It's an Obi-Wan Kenobi thing. If you look at things from a certain point of view, then that's what that is about. And then this also from Tails Yuki, who says, "I love Adar. He's a great character and probably the best original idea the show had. I often wonder about the origins since Tolkien changed it many times, but tend to believe in the elves being tortured, and it's cool to see one of the original ones. This would mean that Adar is so old, it's ridiculous. I love it. We talked a little bit about that last week, didn't we? Did some of the people that he was talking about in last week's episode? Was it last week or the week before? Would have been like Galadriel's grandmother, great grandmother.
No.
We weren't.
What are you talking about? I think Elrond. This episode.
Oh, okay.
This episode, Ada was talking about Elrond's grandmother.
Okay.
Who was Millian, who is actually was a Maya. She wasn't even an elf. Great grandmother, yeah.
Okay. So there you go, tells Yuki. I have once again demonstrated my lore prowess.
Great grandmother, yeah. Yeah.
I like it. I like Adar enough. But if Sauron's going to get the orcs, then I say sooner rather than later. That's just me. I mean, if we're gonna love on Sauron so much, then we might as well root for him to have exactly what he wants, and that's exactly what he wants.
I always thought that Ada was an elf from the east. So if he met Melian, he's actually not. It was strange.
Yeah. Don't know. Don't know any of that stuff. Here's a poll. It's the what's worse questions. Don't forget that our polls are up for this week's what's worse questions. But these are the results from last week, in which case I don't even remember who argued what. But what's worse for season 2, episode 6 of The Rings of Power, having a ton of food in front of you and doing your best to resist eating it until it's too late, and then you have nothing left but orc food to eat. Galadriel, hint, hint. Or trying to properly pronounce, that's a double P, Yurok. And I believe that I argued the food, right? Did I argue the food?
I have no idea.
Doesn't matter. Priscilla is always right. Remember, 1, Priscilla is always right. And B, because I said so. And 4, because she said so. At any rate, 69.2% versus 30%. Food over the pronunciation. I think I said pronunciation. I think you said food. Season 2, episode 6. What's worse? Believing that out of 3 random deserting orcs you kill, one of them just happens to have a map pinpointing exactly what the objective of those orcs was, or 2, including too many book references in one monologue. This one I remember distinctly. Priscilla argued too many book references. I said, you're crazy. It's the map. That's much more annoying. And I was completely wrong. 75% to 25%. It's almost like 1 out of 4 of you voted for me. And the other 3 voted for Priscilla. That's the kind of sample size that we had for that poll. Actually, we had a little bit more, but not much more. And so here was our poll for the rating of season 2, episode 6 on a scale of great, good, fair, and poor, because we don't have room to put all the doubles up there on these polls. So great got 34.5%, good got 31%, fair got 6.5%, post 6.9%, and poor got 27.6%. Guess what, folks? Those are the exact same figures that we announced last week when we were doing our poll, and we first talked about it. That means that none of you voted after the podcast came out. 0 of you. Nothing changed. So thank you very much for that. We appreciate your efforts to participate with this podcast.
It was good. I think it was a good
because of this
division.
Because it was such a decisive poll. I've decided not to talk about this week's poll, but it's up there. Go and rate the episode, and we will announce the results next week. Priscilla,
I
that's
think
all.
it was a good episode. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we're done. Priscilla, what are you going to tell me that I did wrong this time?
It was amazing as always. You were a great host. Great everything.
Listen to the sarcasm happening there.
It was great. Yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Priscilla TV1 is the YouTube that you need to check her out. And remember, you can always contact me at BustBlockbuster on the site for women on his Twitter, or you can send emails to mattsaudioblog@gmail.com. You can also send posts to Double P Media just about everywhere on social media, except maybe OnlyFans. They are at the word double, the letters PHQ. Don't forget, Bubba has so many things coming down the pike as far as the podcast go.
True.
We only get one day of our video being on top before it gets turned over by the one of the murder series. Bubba does excellent. Let's Solve series.
As it should be, because Bubba likes some murder.
And it is Bubba's channel.
Life, yeah.
And it's not like he's paying us anyway. So.
Oh, I think he paid me just last week. But he doesn't pay you? Is that what you're saying?
Man, I quit this podcast. Goodbye. DoublePmedia.com, YouTube.com/the-word-double, the letter P, the word media. I'm on strike.
No.